talking about EuroMaidan again, about how the civil society can influence the process of investigation, how to finalize the criminal proceedings, and establishing of commission at Verkhovna Rada to punish those responsible for crimes committed against EuroMaidan. We'll be talking about that with Ihor Lutsenko, civil activist Oleg Slabospytskyi, civil sector of EuroMaidan, and Vitaliy Tytych, the lawyer presenting the interests of those who suffered at EuroMaidan. Good afternoon, Oleg Slabospytskyi, the co-founder of the Civic sector of EuroMaidan. We brought answers to our information requests from the General Prosecutor's Office and others. You can pick up the copies at the entrance. I will start from saying that we will be commemorating the anniversary of dispersal of the students' Maidan on the 30th of November, starting from December last year. The civic sector of EuroMaidan organized the campaign dedicated to the fact that those who are guilty in dispersing the European Maidan were not punished, and there were all these shootings at institutes, and no one was punished for that. And now we have the large-scale actions taking place in Crimea and in the East. I would like to start from statistical data. What does the civil society has as to numbers of people who were killed and disappeared during EuroMaidan? According to the EuroMaidan, 29 persons are missing. If we look at the answers from the General Prosecutor's Office and the Ministry of Interior that we received, they have only 2 criminal cases as to missing of 2 persons. Most of them, they know about the information which you can see in open sources in internet, but they closed all 39 cases that were open. Now, talking about those people who were killed, 99 activists are identified who were killed during all the period of EuroMaidan, not just in Kyiv, but all over Ukraine. As we know, the General Prosecutor's Office and the Ministry of the Interior, they are conducting cases on the killing of 77 citizens and the firing wounds of 180 citizens. Also, we attended the court proceedings on 63 cases which were open, both administrative and criminal cases, which were opened against the activists of EuroMaidan. Now we do not have any facts of investigation of the actions of judges who committed these crimes, who falsified the protocols and falsified the accusations, even though that was an administrative fine. That is still the crime. Now talking about other statistical data, now there are 30 cases in territorial departments of the General Prosecutor's Office of Ukraine, and also 17 cases are open, and 13 traffic policemen are suspected in committing crimes against the activists of EuroMaidan. Talking in general terms, we see that a year passed, and every month on the 30th of months we had the actions organized to draw information attention to the fact that even after the change of authorities, unfortunately, the cases on punishing those who are participated in repressions and beatings of activists, this moves very slowly, and the position of the law enforcement body is that the Ministry of Interior is accusing General Prosecutor's Office, and General Prosecutor's Office is accusing Ministry of the Interior in delaying all that. Now new people have come. Some civil activists are in the Verkhovna Rada now and will be trying by new methods to control the course of investigations, because unfortunately we are not private detectives, but there are many journalist investigations, and this also could become an evidence in investigating these crimes, and we do not want politicians or people to forget that without punishing those who were guilty in these crimes, we will not be able to move forward and to build a new country. I would also like to give the floor to the lawyer of the families of the Heavenly Hundred, Vitaliy Tytych.
I'm a lawyer, and good afternoon. I representatives of the victims of the events during the EuroMaidan among my clients. Journalists, and on the December 1st, and then families of perished and wounded on Maidan. Here, my the colleagues mentioned that you don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be inside of this investigation just to state quite a strange thing. We have one in Ukraine, the biggest crime. More than 100 people were killed. And weapons were used, and 200 died, and tortured, wounded. All of that happened a year ago. It's already a year. What do we have? In the court, we have one case about a hooligan article, and a case that started as to murder of Remy, your colleague journalist, and also we have, as a result, we have a case against 3 Berkut. One of them disappeared under conditions that you know. So the investigation, you don't need to be a lawyer to understand this situation with the investigation. A group of lawyers that we united half a year ago, and during all this time we were trying to take some measures to improve the process, procedures, and Berkut special units when investigated, and represents rights of lawyers. Defending lawyers are quite limited, but we had cooperation with General Prosecution, Ministry of Interior, SBU, and at present a dialogue. We have a dialogue, but as a result we have 0. Now we are in the point of objective point of not returning to cooperation with the prosecution, because all the proposals we provided, and we invested our time, intellect, health, and money in order to improve the investigation. That was ignored. Last week, all heads of agencies reported, and one in front of the other, and we see that they believe, on the highest level, they believe that heads of those bodies, they did everything they could. And finally, what we did, we had an academic meeting. Our lawyers had a proposal to develop a special investigation department and who would just deal with this case. And she spoke about the problems of investigation, and there are a lot of them, subjective, objective, but setting up such a department would be a realistic first step in general prosecution, which could change something during this investigation. Unfortunately, until now, that was the idea. Such a proposal was not accepted, and officially they didn't tell us why. They didn't respond to us. The level of cooperation between these bodies is very low. General prosecution is blaming Ministry of Interior. Ministry of Interior is pointing at prosecution, and SBU is watching that. That is not normal. So there was a proposal from lawyers to set up a coordination center. That proposal is still not used. So the last effort to improve this investigation, if we can call it, is an effort to set up that commission in the parliament. I don't know about its powers, and there are some doubts about that. But we have to use every measure to investigate this crime. And finally, there is a trend that beating students, comparing to further murders, that was a crime not very serious. And students, they were participants of further activities, and then there are some they were wounded, so people don't pay enough of attention to that. And journalists, your colleagues who were beaten on the 1st of December, they are not that active. They were not active after murders on Maidan, but because they thought, okay, why should I complain? They beat me, so other people were murdered. But this is a very wrong position, because if we don't investigate these crimes from the very beginning, that's as a consequence, there were murders and escalation of those activities. And such investigation should be united, not in one criminal case, like 228 crimes of that regime, but they should be under one office, and according to religious criminal law, that should be considered comprehensive. We understand that that crime, that was the first crime against students. Students were beaten. That gives a key to understand further events and murders and murders of people. That's we underline that, and we want that to be investigated. Thank you.
Ihor Lutsenko, the newly elected member of parliament, please tell what could be the powers of this newly formed commission. Good afternoon. First of all, the reason why they are not finding people guilty in these crimes. This problem is that institutionally we do not know who should be accused. There's a prosecutor's office that is leading the investigation, but there's militia which directly conducts all the investigatory actions, and these two institutions, they blame each other, and they also blame judges and other institutions. And in this situation, the political responsibility is very diluted. To clear up the political responsibility, to concentrate the political efforts of all the political forces, because Irena is in one group and Avakov is in another group, and that could be used not for our benefit, but to concentrate efforts. I believe that the Provisional Investigation Committee should be set up by Verkhovna Rada. Verkhovna Rada has 27 committees, but there should be 2 provisional or temporary, but in our situation, standing bodies which are to become a very important part of the work of Verkhovna Rada, the Commission on Anti-Terrorist Operation, and the second one on investigating the crimes against Maidan. Without that, the Verkhovna Rada will not be the Verkhovna Rada that we hope it to be. With the initiative to set up such a commission on investigating the crimes against Maidan, this is the initiative that I submit, and I want the MPs, those MPs who understand the depth of that crime, become the members of this commission. These are people whose friends were killed, whose colleagues fell victims, and people with personal responsibility. We have 3 possible options of how the MPs institutionally can get organized into such a group. In the previous convocations, the MPs would unite to work on the issues of Kiev, and there is also the temporary investigatory commission and the temporary special commission. The best option is the temporary investigation commission. Of course, we will not be able to investigate everything about the crimes in Maidan, but we can concentrate on control over those who are investigating, because now we have the second generation of crimes. I call that crimes when another crime is not investigated, and this commission has to concentrate its attention on such crimes. Can a regular person from the General Prosecutor's Office come to the briefing here and criticize Avakov, who does not allow the Berkut people to go to interrogation, to be interrogated? I'm talking about hypothetical examples. So this commission is just the beginning of a big way, but that's just the beginning. So now I would like to address all the MPs so that they think about whether they are ready to participate in the work of this very important commission. And investigation of the crimes of the 30th November is of importance, because these crimes were committed by the same people who were shooting Maidan then, later. And these authorities were covering up these crimes. We can say that on the 20th, after the 20th of February, those people just ran away. But now the old authorities and new authorities, they behave similarly. One fact: there was a case submitted to the court as to illegal actions of militia on the 30th of November. And the militia says we were acting according to the law. That was under Yanukovych. The position after Avakov came has not changed in the court. Until now, the Ministry of Interior believes that they acted legally, beating the students at Maidan. That was confirmed in the court by the representatives of the Ministry of Interior. I do not know whether Avakov knows that, but that was fixed in the protocol, so that such things do not change. There is a need in such a commission, but finally, this commission will be without any powers, like all previous investigatory commissions, unless there is a very powerful virtual civil society commission which will be supporting this commission, controlling this commission, in creating the political pressure so that this body which doesn't really have enough powers. Any parliamentary commission is like a round table, but if we get united with the civil sector, and I believe that EuroMaidan and other initiatives will join, they will set up an acting body, and having this commission, we will achieve results. Thank you. I have immediately a question to you. What are the powers and the instruments that this commission will have besides the requests from the MPs? Basically, talking about powers, we can get information quickly, at least, or request about the information. If they refuse, then we can use political and legal instruments to learn what we want to learn. We will have the possibility to communicate to the general prosecutor. We'll invite him, and he will have to come. The Minister of the Interior. This is the level which is difficult to achieve for the civil society. But as an MP, you already have these powers. I can go and wait for Avakov to see me. When Avakov comes, it's different situation. When Avakov comes and reports, this is the emulation of investigation. That is much more powerful body compared to a group of lawyers who are trying to do something. Again, if in the traditions of Ukrainian parliamentarism, the work of this commission is not sabotaged. Who would you like to see as the head of the commission? The person should be motivated and should work hard. I don't care which one of political forces, starting from Leshko and down to Poroshenko bloc. One thing is important, is the person should be motivated internally. They should understand how important their mission is. And two more words about investigation of my case. Most of those who were committing that crime, they ran away. They are outside of Ukraine. A few of them were arrested, and the only person who was really accused, just like this Sadovnik, the same way, this person ran away from the justice. And I believe that is part of the same scheme on avoiding the responsibility by those who ordered that crime. And I would like to invite Katerina Verchenko, who was the participant of Students' Maidan. We saw you in the film Prayer for Ukraine. Tell us about your impressions and what are your plans. How will you be helping to investigate the crimes?
In fact, I came to Maidan when I saw Twitter over Mustafa Nayem, and on night when they dispersed the students, I could not believe that it was possible in our country. And when I saw that those killers, that was awful. When we were fleeing away, running away across the road, we heard from one of them that it's not shame to beat fools, and you understand that you don't want to live in such a country. You are not ready for that. And because of that, seeing how they were beaten, young teenagers, boys, girls, students, and nurses, and who wanted to change their country, and they were beaten for that, that's not correct. And a year has passed. As a civic person, as a civic activist, as someone who felt that on myself, I don't see anything that was done by the government. This government or the previous government. This is civic activists and civic activists from Maidan, and every month on the 30th we come and ask the government to take steps to punish legally those who committed crimes. We want the process to go on legal process. And there are a lot of other activists and volunteers who suffered during Maidan and who need support and assistance from the authorities and from the country. Me, as a witness who was present at the time, who suffered, is the government. I want them to react and to take responsibility for that, and to be brave, to stand up and to say what they are doing, or explain why they are not doing that. Thank you very much. Have you? We invited as a witness to investigation. Did you give evidence? No, because I hold only a bruise, and my equipment was broken. So it was an easy for me, but others, I know that there was no case, and that Berkut, who was in Kiev recently, they were trying to relieve them from the guard, and they cancel the process, so the judge is not is absent, and so it goes on for 5 months. I didn't give evidence because on the 30th, when I came to, after that night, I came to Mikhailovsky Square. I understood maybe I could do more than just to go around courts. I don't know whether I was right or not, but I didn't complain to court. It was I was afraid to go because court system, they were protecting those who were beating us than us. Yeah, civic activist, a participant of Civic Maidan. Now, civic activists, they are volunteers, they help ATO, and we heard here they invited others to participate in to help investigation, and there was a round table. They told without NGOs, civic activists, they cannot help. They want us to help them to find bullets, etc., to evidence. In your opinion, the point is, will it be an obstacle, those events, and ATO, will it be an obstacle and everybody will forget about EuroMaidan? I don't believe that people think about ATO, because looking at civic activists and as EuroMaidan source, we help volunteer battalions, and we help with everything we can in the ATO area, and also we organize civic events that those who have committed crimes, criminals, they are not will not punish. They want us in a year. They want us to find that evidence. What did you do? What were they doing all this year? So, are there other questions? If not, thank you very much, our speakers. We hope that you newly created parliament, which has a lot of activists who participants of EuroMaidan, they will help